Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on stratification. In this video we're going to look at definitions of social class, focusing on the work of Karl Marx. One of the key issues with defining social class is that there are differing views on what constitutes social class, with both subjective and objective definitions of social class used when determining an individual's social position. While early definitions of social class focus largely on occupation, other more recent definitions take a more holistic view, incorporating social, economic and cultural capital. Furthermore, class is often defined by the individual and forms part of their identity. There are many different definitions of what social class is, and in this series of videos we're going to look at some of the more commonly used ones. And where better to start than by looking at Marx's definition of social class, and how it is defined by an individual's relationship to the ownership of the means of production. Throughout his work, Karl Marx saw a historical relationship between divisions in society and how class struggle had come to create social changes. Marx suggested that from the end of primitive communism, society had been organised into two main groups, those who had power and those that did not. And this binary class system was present in ancient and feudal societies and has transferred into capitalist society. In the capitalist system, individuals were organised based upon their relationship to the means of production, that is, the factories, resources and capital, much in the same way as that individuals have been organised based upon their ownership of land and estates in feudal systems. According to Marx, in capitalist society there were two competing classes: the ruling class, who owned the means of production, and the subject class, those who had no control over capital, resources and factories, but instead had their labour, their ability to work, and this was sold to the ruling classes in exchange for money, so that they could purchase the goods and services that they had produced. According to Marx, social class is determined by the relationship of an individual to the means of production. If you own capital, factories and machinery that produces the goods and services the economy is built upon, you are part of the ruling class and the bourgeoisie. This can be problematic, as many small businesses would be classed as being part of the bourgeoisie, yet have cultural values that are more aligned to the working classes. In contrast, if you do not control the means of production and are paid for your labour, you are part of the subject class or the proletariat. This includes high-ranking managers who have control over others, and so creates a problem when looking at social stratification, particularly in the 21st century. Other approaches, including Weberian and neo-Marxist approaches, are critical of this simplistic definition. However, there is more to Marx's definition of social class and how the ruling class exert control over others than a simple relationship to the means of production. A further aspect of social class is the extent to which the ruling class exert control over the subject class. Marx outlined that as the ruling class control the economic infrastructure, they are also able to control society's superstructure, the social institutions that socialise individuals into the norms, values and beliefs in society. This includes education, where ruling class norms and values are passed on to pupils so they can fulfil their economic roles in the future. Religion, where individuals are taught not to question capitalism and social inequalities as they will receive rewards in the next life. Media, that transmits ideologies of entrepreneurialism and individualism. And government, that looks to control the law in favour of the capitalist classes. Whilst there are issues with defining who are the bourgeoisie and who are the proletariat, the control of power in society is more clear according to Marx. These institutions control individuals and make them unaware of the exploitation they face, and this reduces cohesion amongst social classes. And this, according to Marx, is how the unequal system is able to continue. He argued that for individuals to define themselves as being part of a social class was a result of a collective class struggle, being able to see their own experiences in others and bonding them together to overthrow the chains of their oppression. But as social institutions that are controlled by the bourgeoisie are able to legitimise social inequalities, for example by promoting meritocratic ideals and individual achievements, this weakens the strength of the proletariat, dividing them so that they focus on their own self-interests rather than the collective class struggle. This creates a false class consciousness, whereby individuals ignore their own exploitation and the inequality in society. For example, high-ranking managers are unaware that they too are being exploited for their labour and have a false belief that they are viewed positively by the true ruling class. However, Marx's ideas have been criticised, as his idea of two social classes becoming increasingly polarised and leading to revolution never came to pass. His ideas of class being defined purely by the relationship to the means of production has been criticised by Weberian and neo-Marxists, who believe the social stratification system is more complex, and that as people become more socially mobile, they move away from the collective ideals of the proletariat. Furthermore, it can be argued that lone traders and small businesses are often subject to controls, just as employed workers are, whilst high-ranking employees have very little culturally in common with those that they employ, despite being part of the same social class. Neo-Marxists have also criticised Marx. Despite drawing influence from Marx's ideas of inequality, they suggest that concepts of false class consciousness do not apply to all workers, and that many are aware of their exploitation, yet choose not to act against it, often due to their own self-interest. Weber and those influenced by him would also argue against a simple two-tier definition of social class, arguing that social class is defined by more factors than relationship to the means of production, suggesting that skills, status, and a level of authority are also important factors in defining an individual's social class. That concludes this Tutor You Sociology topic video on definitions of social class, looking at the work of Marx. Thanks for watching.